Wanna be Ryan the Great, and today we are back with you guys. Yeah, there's not really that much to talk about at the current moment in time. The NFL free agency slowing down, though Russell Wilson just signed with the New York Giants. Stephon Diggs just signed with the New England Patriots. But yeah, we'll have a quarterbacks video out probably next week, I want to say. We still are waiting for what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. But yeah, free agency video will be out maybe next month, something around there. Right before the draft. So yeah, that's to look forward to. But at the current moment in time, not really much to talk about. But baseball is starting soon. Well, actually, just starting in a day now from when this video is going to be posted. The Philadelphia Phillies obviously have some expectations going into the season based off the roster that they had. They're expected to compete for at least the NL East and as well for the NL pennant and also obviously a World Series. So we will have to see what they do. But these are my Phillies expectations going into the season. I really have to thank my friend Fran for this video idea because he was saying, oh, you haven't posted as much. And I said, there's not really much to talk about. And he said, Dad, the Phillies start in a few days. I think that's something big to talk about. So shout out to him for giving me this idea. But let's just get right into this video. But before we get right into it, guys, make sure you guys subscribe with your post notifications on. Go subscribe to my brother, the Great Blogs. Make sure you guys go subscribe to my second channel at Round the Combat Great. Make sure you guys go follow me on X at Round the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go follow me on TikTok at Round the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go listen to the latest edition of the CR7 podcast. And make sure you guys go follow me on Twitch at Round the Great Podcast. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into the video. So starting off with our first slide, let's do it. Why didn't the Phillies make too many moves in the offseason? Well, I think it's pretty simple. Obviously, I was a little upset when the Phillies weren't making so many moves in the offseason because of the fact that, we obviously lost in the NL divisional round last season, the NLDS last season. And before that, we lost in the NLCS, and before that, we lost in the World Series. So it kind of felt like the Phillies were decreasing year after year after year after year. But at the end of the day, this is a Phillies team that was number one in the NL. Like, we are forgetting that. They were number one in the NL last season. They were the best team. They were one of the hottest teams to start off the entire season. And obviously, they had, diamonds in the rough like Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez. And obviously, their productivity decreased as the season went on. But I will give my reasons for that and how we can improve on that later in this video. So we had those diamonds in the rough. We were so good, and then I don't know. Even when we got to the NL East or the NLDS, I believe I predicted the Phillies to win. It's just something felt off. It just didn't feel the same. I obviously didn't take them to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I don't think anybody's beating the Los Angeles Dodgers. I still say that now. So I don't know. Something just felt off. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like how it did. And the Phillies obviously lost to the New York Mets, and there's not anything you could do about it right now. So we obviously have to accept that. But getting back to my point here, why didn't the Phillies make so many moves? It's because of the fact that they had one of the hottest teams in the number one team in the NL. Like, this is a championship level team. We don't need to go out. We didn't need to go out and sign Juan Soto. We didn't need to go out and make a big trade or make such a big move. Because of the fact that this was a hot team. This was a really great team. It's just, I think we probably got gassed or something around there once the playoffs began. So once again, this is and the Mets were obviously one of the hottest teams in the entire league. Once they got there, we just got unlucky that they beat the Brewers. I think we could have beaten the Brewers, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, we got unlucky there. We didn't really need to make that many moves because of the fact that we were one of the most dominant teams in the NL. And we can obviously still do it again. We're coming back with pretty much the same team. We didn't lose any of our core pieces, and we added pieces, honestly, to our hitting. The pitching is pretty much the same. We try to get another fifth starter in there. So I think we're fine. But anyway, moving on. What can the Phillies do with the moves they actually made? Now, we made a few moves in the offseason. We obviously signed some pitchers. We signed a few pitchers. We obviously signed Max Kepler, who will most likely play left field once the season begins. So, we have him there. I think he's just there to improve the bottom of the lineup. Obviously, Rojas was terrible last year. The guy couldn't hit his way out of a paper bag. So, he just was an unmitigated disaster over the course of the season. Obviously, his defense I thought was good, but his offense was just absolutely terrible, and not really much you can do about that right now. Once again, we just got to move on. But I think Kepler, somebody that has been doing decently well in spring training. Obviously is a 200 hitter. I believe he hit around 200. Yeah, I mean 375, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs in spring training. I mean, you can't really get any better than that. Now, obviously, this is spring training, and I am always one to say it's spring training. Let's watch out. Let's wait to see what he does in the regular season. But he hit 253 last season in 105 games played, 2023, 260 hit. I'm looking at the stats right now. So, this is obviously a guy that can, obviously a lot better than the guy that hit 100 something in Rojas. So, I will definitely take that. Obviously, Brandon Marsh will be there as well. And then if you want to throw Castellanos, Bohm, Romuto, even at the 7 spot of the lineup, then I would not be opposed to that at all. I'll give my projected lineup later in this video. So, we have Kepler to, help us out in the hitting department. And then we obviously have Jesus Luzardo. What do you call it? We signed we, Jesus Luzardo and Romano as well. I don't know how I blanked on his name. But yeah, we signed those guys. Luzardo, I think he had like a 5 ERA last year. They have something around a 3-6 record, 12 games started. So it's obvious that he is not. He's going to be more of that bullpen guy. Once Ranger Suarez does come back from injury, it's going to be Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Christopher Sanchez, and then Luzardo. Obviously, Taijuan Walker was just absolutely terrible last year as the 5th starter, and he would we were losing way too many games with him in there because of how terrible he was. So Luzardo, I wouldn't say he's much of an upgrade. But I also wouldn't say he's worse than Taijuan Walker because you really couldn't get much worse. Romano, just another guy to add to the bullpen. The Phillies last year, I think were ranked I think they were ranked number 1 in bullpen going into the season, and then their bullpen really started out bad, even though the team overall was really, really good. The bullpen for the Phillies ever since 2011, which was the last time, or not the last time, but the well, not the last time they went to the World. The last time. Before obviously the success, the last time they went to the playoffs, it was the first team in a while since 2021 or 2022 since they made the playoffs. It was one of the better teams in that time period. So you get my point of what I'm trying to say. That's when the bullpen was actually good. The bullpen hasn't been good since 2011. I was 3 years old then, so I guess how would I know? But regardless, hopefully he's just added to be decently good. I mean, he was all right with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm hoping that he's able to pick up his game once he, starts to get some innings in for the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, obviously, we're going to have our main guys. We're going to have Strom as a closer as well. We're going to have Alvarado, Kerkering. Tanner Banks is supposed to step into that role as well. I assume Walker will be another relief pitcher. Where his ranking will be in that category will be interesting to see once the season begins. On ESPN, his ranking is 5th. But so I'm not complaining. He definitely was pretty bad. His contract, it's not that great either. But we'll have to see what happens there. But anyway, let's move on. Ways to improve this season. Now, if you guys watch the CR7 podcast over the summer, Cole and I would obviously break down the Phillies every single week. And Cole obviously knows a lot more baseball than I do. Starting pitcher. Starting and relief pitcher at St. Joe's Rural Prep. First game actually, well, technically today, as this video gets released, I'll be commentating that game, or I guess had commentated that game by the time this video is out. But nonetheless, he was always saying, "Oh, they're playing so great. Walker, Wheeler, or not Walker, Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez, they're playing so great, and they're shutting guys out." And I keep saying, pretty much every week, I said, Cole, they're obviously playing great. But pitching 90 pitches, 80 pitches in 6 innings, and then having them come out, it's not sustainable over the course of the season. You're throwing so many pitches per inning. By the time August, September comes around, And the playoffs, they're eventually going to get tired, which is what ultimately really ended up happening. Obviously, Suarez got injured. I think Sanchez was injured for a period of time. Wheeler and Nola, while they didn't necessarily take a step down, they didn't look as great as they did to start the season. So, we can't keep pitching so many pitches. And if that does happen, you got to pull the guy. If Wheeler's pitching great in a few innings, he gets 5 innings in, but he has 70 pitches, you might have to pull him. Now Gabe Kapler, it was a little different. He would just pull the guy no matter no matter no matter what the situation was. He was just terrible. And I feel like I'm not trying to compare myself. I'm not trying to compare my plan to what he did, because what he did was terrible. If the guy's pitching good and he's say through 6 innings, he's thrown 65 pitches, or even 70 pitches, that's not bad. But if they're through 5 innings and they throw 70, 80 pitches, then they got to get out of the game. It's not sustainable over the course of the year. You got to think bigger picture here. And then obviously the bullpen. I mean, I just mentioned it. They've been terrible for the past 10 years. 10 years counting, actually. Um, they're like, yeah, 15, 14 years. They've been terrible. So the bullpen's got to do well. Don't even rank them high, because they're just an unmitigated disaster. And then the batting, you just got to stop chasing. The Phillies, I felt last year, they tried to play way too much hero ball. Every time somebody came up, they tried to hit a home run, um, whether guys were on base or not. We also hit way too many solo home runs, I felt. That just we maybe didn't lead the league in solo home runs, but I just felt like the timing of that when we hit them were just not good for what the kind of what the game scenario was. We could be it could be a 2-2 ball game and we hit a solo home run. That's the time you want guys on base. If we're hitting multi home runs, or multi-man home runs with guys on base when we're up 10-0, that's not really going to do anything. So, we'd like to see those more of those home runs when, guys are on base. So that's one thing. We got to stop chasing. Like, the Phillies chase so much. I remember Nick Castellanos, his first year, his swing rate outside the plate was really high. Schwarber obviously chases sometimes. Harper's not necessarily known for chasing, but that is one of his weaknesses. Turner, he does it some occasionally. We just got to stop chasing after the baseball, and we could be a very successful team. Our batting average could go really up. I think that's part of Schwarber's problem. It's either a home run or a strikeout with him for the most part. Though his batting average did go up last year, so I'll give him credit for that. But we got to stop chasing. That is the biggest thing for hitting. If we didn't chase, we'd be we could win 120 games. I'm obviously exaggerating, but you get my point. But yeah, that's the biggest problem. Those are the things we can improve on this season. And I don't think these are things that are rocket science, or it doesn't take a baseball guru to figure out. They're just basic things. But anyway, last slide of the day. My projected lineup for the start of the season. I will have Trey Turner at the 1 spot, obviously at shortstop, Bryson Stott at the 2, second base, Bryce Harper at first, Kyle Schwarber, designated hitter, JT Realmuto at catcher, Alec Boehm at third, Nick Castellanos at right field, Brandon Marsh center field, and then Max Kepler left field. And this is obviously the batting order that I would like to see. I want to move Schwarber down to 4, because I feel like it's all the guy who normally hits the most home runs hits at the 4 spot. I mean, that just the cleanup hitter. That's just how it's always been. He's been the leadoff hitter for the past couple of years for reasons I can't tell you. Bryce Harper, obviously the 3. He's the best hitter. I'd like to see Trey Turner. He's obviously very, very fast. He's very not necessarily a home run hitter, but he hits those singles, those doubles, really helps you lead off well, lead off position. Bryson Stott, say Trey Turner hits a double. Bryson Stott, very good at getting singles and stuff like that, can drive the first run in. Realmuto, 5 spot. I wouldn't, I would like that. Boehm, Castellanos, kind of, Boehm just to lead in, a decent hitter, just to lead into that bottom of the order, just so we can get somebody on base. Castellanos, this could Castellanos' spot could definitely change as the season goes on based off of his performance. Brandon Marsh, I think that's fine as the 8th hitter, and then Kepler is the 9th hitter, just so you can get that 250 average, I guess you should say, at that bottom of the spot. You get 1 hit every 4 hits. You hopefully can see somebody on base like Boehm, Castellanos, or Marsh, sorry, and then you drive that run in. So, that's kind of the way I see it. You could change Stott and Turner. I wouldn't be mad at it at all. But in my opinion, I just like to see Turner at hitting first for the reasons I just explained. Obviously, times when Martian or Stubbs comes in for Real Muto, if he's getting the day off, you move them to the ninth spot and just move everybody up. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory there. So yeah, that's really it. That's a projected lineup for the year. That's everything I have to say. My expectation overall, I mean, I would say 80, 90 wins. Kind of where we were last year, to be honest with you. Do I think we get the first seed? I'm not necessarily sure. If Shohei Otani comes back to pitching, obviously the Dodgers, they've somehow been able to make even more moves in the offseason to make their team even stronger. Normally they're not normally you don't see stuff like that, but they're even stronger this year. So I don't necessarily see us getting first in the and the NL overall. I could see us definitely winning the NL East. The last time the Mets made a bunch of moves, we know how that turned out. They had to tank their season, trade everybody away. But yeah, the Mets are obviously looking good this season. The Dodgers, I project them to be first. We can definitely win the NL East. And once again, I'd say 80, 90 wins and a possible second seed. So, that's how I see it. Once again, I'd love to get back to the World Series, try and win it. I just don't see it happening. I just see the Dodgers dominating everybody, especially in the playoffs. You have that many great players. They obviously now have the experience. They're coming back with pretty much the same team, adding a couple pieces to their rotation as well. I just can't really see anybody beating them. I said the same thing last year, and I don't know. Until proven, I don't see the Dodgers losing in the playoffs. So that'll do it for the video, guys. Make sure you guys subscribe with the post notifications on. Go subscribe to my brother in the Great Vlogs. Make sure you guys go subscribe to my second channel at Around the Combat Great. Make sure you guys go follow me on X Around the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go follow me on TikTok at Around the Great RTG. Make sure you guys go listen to the latest edition of the CR7 podcast. And make sure you guys go follow me on Twitch at Around the Great Podcast. And as always, Ryan the Great out. Peace.